on the BSA today. When I did the work on this bike originally, I wanted to keep it as original as possible, and it had this funky, chunky petcock on it that was made out of plastic. It was in line, that kind of thing. It wasn't appropriate for the bike. So I put in one of these Ewert style, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, petcocks. It's period correct, looks good on the bike, all that kind of thing. But I've struggled to keep this thing from leaking. I've tried multiple corks on it. Can't seem to get a good seal. Honing didn't help. Tried using O-ring stacks, which I saw online. Again, it works for a minute, but then, you know, after a few uses, it just seems to cause problems later. So what I'm going to do is take this petcock off and replace it with this style petcock here, which is somewhat period correct. This is for later model Norton and BSA and so on and so forth, Triumph motorcycles, this lever style here instead of this push-pull. And I believe that this petcock will probably eliminate my leak problem that I've been having with this petcock. Is it exactly period correct like this one would be? No, but I imagine that if someone had this bike during that time frame, they might have switched from this petcock to this style petcock in an effort to you know, alleviate a leak. It would have been something that would have been a period modification even. So I'm going to take this petcock and replace this petcock that's on here with it, and that'll make it a more usable machine for myself. Even though it's not exactly correct, I still think it'll look good and be a good replacement and solve our leak issue, which ultimately can't have gasoline leaking down onto the hot exhaust. It's just bad news to me. I can't live with that as a solution. So we're going to put this petcock on, and I'm going to take you guys along. I've rigged up this funnel here because even though I've pumped out and drained out all the gas out of the tank, there's going to be a lip about this big right here up in the inside the tank where it screws in. So there's going to be probably a little bit of residual gasoline there when I take this out. I want to be able to capture that, so I've taken a bungee here. I've taken a bungee right here and put it around this funnel so that we can capture any residual gas. I'm going to put a pan down here to catch that gasoline. And then we'll get this petcock changed out and see if we can solve our leak problem. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today. Well, that's when your mom calls, you got to take the call, you know what I'm saying? Particularly on Mother's Day weekend. So let's again get this existing petcock off. So I want to do it on the bike just because this gas tank, to take it off, I have to take the seat out of the way. The seat has to, you got to loosen off the shock bolts. It's a bit of a pain. So we're going to try and do it while it's on the bike, which should be completely doable. So back this one out. So it's going to come loose easy, which is the goal. It's kind of a shame, as I really do like the look of this push-pull petcock. I think this other one's going to look well, look okay as well. But these push-pulls, you know, they just look appropriate for the bikes, and I wish it would have done a little better. But you know, it didn't, so it is what it is. So petcock's off. Maybe we'll use it on something else down the way. Who knows, maybe we'll go back on this bike at some point. I just really, I just couldn't have it leaking all the time. Particularly, they say the position of that petcock where it is, if it leaks, it's going to drip right on the exhaust. And clearly, gasoline on a hot exhaust is not a good idea, at least not in my book. So we're not going to do it. All right, now this one allows you to have a bolt or a nut that snugs up so that you can position it so it faces out perfectly. So we're going to try and do that. We'll go in as far as we can and then come back out with it. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. Thread size isn't big enough. Well, looks like we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board on that a little bit. I think I'm gonna need an adapter. I did see one online. So apparently I'm gonna have to order that. Okay, so we'll put this entire endeavor on hold for the moment. Put our protective cover back on. Put all the parts together. Get our adapter. And I wasn't sure if I was going to need it or not, but clearly it does. So we'll get that, and then we'll address it next weekend, I suppose. All right. In the meantime, I guess we're done for today. And we'll come back to this video once I get the parts I need, and we'll look at it then. Back on the BSA today, the Petcock that we've been struggling with, the push-pull type, we took off. Actually didn't get it all on film because had other things to deal with, and like I say, I don't do this professionally, so I film as I can. But anyway, took the push-pull Petcock out. It was not, just wasn't getting it done. It was leaking. So removed this one, and went and got a later but still kind of period correct Petcock that was used on BSA Norton Triumph. Then requires an adapter bushing here to screw into the tank to make where this will work. And all that worked according to plan. The problem that we've got is this leaking right around where these two join together. So what I'm going to have to do is get all the fuel out of the tank again, and then get it dried, cleaned, and we're going to use some Gasolia thread sealant and treat these threads, reassemble the whole thing. Hopefully that will take care of our leaking issue, because I really believe that this Petcock's going to be great to use. It's just a simple lever type, so it should really make the bike very usable at that point. It's really the last thing I need to check off. Everything else has been done. Trying to get it ready for this show, but I need this Petcock not to leak on the hot exhaust, so that we can enjoy riding it up at the British show. So anyway, that's what we're going to be working on today. Let me get this gas out of this gas tank. I have to lower it down and pump it out. Most of it's out already. There's not that much in there, but once I get that done, I'm going to have to let the tank dry a little bit, pull the existing Petcock out and all that kind of thing. So anyway, let's get into it. When I try to get gasoline out of these tanks, a lot of times there's a lot of ridges and whatnot, and you're trying to get all the gas out so that you can do this without spilling gas just everywhere. You know, normal thing I do is I open up the Petcock and drain as much as I can. I already did that before I even started the video, but there's always more left. What I've found is even before I'll open up the Petcock, if I have a full tank, I use this little electric pump, runs on batteries that got from Tractor Supply, fairly inexpensive. Pumps the gas out of the tank really quickly, and then all you're dealing with is a little bit that you run through the Petcock, and then even after that, because there's a slight lip where the Petcock goes into the tank, you may, when you remove it, you may spill a little bit of extra gas. So what I do is kind of a three-step process: pump the gas out with the electric pump, then drain the Petcock. And then once I drain the Petcock to try to get that last little bit out, there's still some residual. I'll set up a funnel system, so when I pull the Petcock, it'll drain into the funnels into an old gas can. And that's the way I get the gas out of these things, because we really need to get this thing clean and dry as possible in order to make the thread sealant that we're going to be using set and allow all that to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to go through that. Like I said, there's a great little thing to have, particularly if you're trying to get a lot of gas out all at once. Probably not great for real nasty gas like what was in this tank, which is why I just dumped that. But when you're pumping out some fairly clean gasoline, this thing does a real good job. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the Petcock loose. I want to take it apart in sections here. It's going to be hard to see because I have these funnels set up so any residual gasoline gets captured. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the actual fuel line that comes off the bottom of it loose first. Get that piece disconnected and out of the way. So that push that right over there, out of the way. All right, so now we're down to where we just have the petcock here. Again, we've got the funnel positioned in such a way to capture any residual gas that may come out. So I'm gonna pull this right here loose. It's 18 millimeter. See it here. And then here's our adapter that we've got screwed in the bottom of the tank. It was leaking between the two, but I may actually put the thread sealant on both just to be doubly sure, because I don't have to repeat this process again if this starts leaking. So I really want to make sure I've got a good seal on everything. But I'm going to take this loose. I'm trying to get the petcock, the threads fully clean. They're brand new, along with the adapter is also brand new, so these threads really are fairly clean as they sit. But we did try using Teflon tape, and clearly that was not the thing to do, and after reading up on it a little bit, the gasoline just did not perform well on it. So what we're going to be using to treat the threads for both the adapter and the petcock itself is this gasolia, I guess is how you pronounce it, thread sealant. It's supposed to be extremely resistant to gasoline and ethanol, resists pretty much everything, and it's kind of a paste, but it's a soft set paste. It's designed for this type of use and was highly touted on the internet. There's that, and then Permatex #2. Gasket sealant was another thing that was suggested. I'm going to go with the gasolia. It seems to be like a superior product when it comes to all the things that it resists, the temperature range that it's good for, all those types of things. It seems to exceed the specification on the Permatex. So we'll be going with the gasolia, but we got to clean the threads, make sure they're good and clean, and then you apply to the male threads only, and let it partially set, and then put it in to the application. We're going to have to do this piece first, which is the adapter, because the direction at which this sets relative, the petcock sets relative to it, is adjustable so that we can make it face outward. So put this in first, and then we'll come back and we'll put in the petcock after we set this one in. But let's get those threads cleaned up. It's just going to be carburetor clean, or brake clean, to get it good, clean and dry on both of them. Let them get good and dry. I'm also going to let it sit for a little bit, the gas tank. Make sure I've actually taken a towel on the end of a piece of wire and wiped around the entry and made sure that that area is completely dry. I'm going to let it air dry some. Make sure that these are clean and dry, and once everything's good and clean and dry, then we'll go in and assemble this stuff. But I don't want to go too fast, you know, shortcuts, that kind of thing, for the sake of the video, simply because I want to make sure that everything is set right. I don't want to have to repeat this process. Taking gas in and out of gas tanks it's annoying. Like I said, I hate rehabbing tanks, but it seems like something I've had to do a lot. And this particular one, because of the way the petcock's joined to it, has been somewhat challenging unless you're using the actual petcock that it was designed for back in the day. But that push-pull petcock, again, has a tendency to leak. So we're going to clean these, dry these, and then we'll start to assembly once we're sure that everything is clean and dry. And I'll bring you guys back for that. Okay, so we've been letting things dry. We're going to go ahead and put some of this thread dope, for lack of a better thing to call it, onto the threads here of the adapter. Try and do this without getting myself incredibly messy. So we'll see how we do with that. Okay. And I looked on YouTube to see if there was much in the way of videos on how to use this stuff, and didn't really see a whole lot online about it. I said to get it down in the threads. So I'm trying to do that. Somewhat messy, apparently. It seems to want to get on everything. But I kind of anticipate that might be the case, but we can clean that up. That's just a matter of cleanup. So let's try and make sure we've got an appropriate amount on here. And then we'll try and make sure we clean the threads a little bit, or the edges, if you will. So make sure we got it on there liberally, is what it said, but want it on there everywhere. All right, take our gasket, set it in place. That just goes with it. All right, let's set this in. And got it started. Sorry, I gotta move quickly. I can't move the camera. I want to get this threaded in. Now, okay. So we applied that thread sealant, and then we've taken and we put it right in there. That's our adapter bung. Screwed that in with the sealant, so we're gonna let that settle and cure a little bit. Take and do a similar procedure with the actual petcock itself. Get that screwed in, and then the last thing we'll do is we'll bring in the actual fuel line that it's actually a compression fit or flare fitting on the bottom. So let's let that set up, and then we'll bring you guys back. All right, so time to do the second piece here. That's the main petcock. So do the same thing, apply the thread sealant to the threads, and then again, I'm not going to be able to swing that over there because I'm going to have stuff on my hands, but we'll run it up into the adapter, or whatever you want to call it, that's already in the bike with thread sealant on it, and see what kind of seal we can get here. Hopefully this is all going to work. If it doesn't, I'm going to be disappointed, but we're going to give it a go. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of videos on exactly how to use this stuff. The directions on the can are just basically say put it on the threads and screw it in. So, but I want to let it cure without sitting in gas. So clearly we've got the tank cleaned out, emptied out, dried out. I even ran towels inside the tank on the end of a stick to make sure that we got it fully dried out on that side. So we'll apply some more and go ahead and get this thing screwed in. All right. So, stuff is messy, I'll tell you all that. And it sticks to you and the piece of threaded apparatus that you're trying to apply it to. It sticks to both and drips. It's a little messy, and I may be using too much of it. Like I say, I'm well versed in, certainly, and tried to do some research before I did all this, but say not a lot of help there on the well, that looks like it's just about in the right spot, so we'll go ahead and leave that alone. But not a lot of help on YouTube about this, so I'm having to kind of wing it a little bit. Hopefully this video, if it goes well for me, and maybe it will help somebody else. But let's go ahead and get this thing in here. All right, we got her on there about as tight as I can imagine getting it. So let's see. Wipe the excess off. This stuff really does. I read online that it gets on everything, and I'll tell you guys, it really does. gets on absolutely everything. So, gotta get it all cleaned off here. All right, so we've got it on here. And I've got it on there wicked tight, so I'm hoping that this is going to seal. And then once we've established whether or not that's going to seal, we'll come back and we'll use this, attach this fuel line, and that'll be our setup. So that's kind of how it sits. I'm going to let this set up overnight, make sure it's good and solid. Give it plenty of time to cure and just sit. And then tomorrow we'll put some gas in it, and hopefully nothing leaks. And if nothing leaks, then we're in good shape, and we'll have a successful application. I'm hoping that's the case. If anything changes, I'll continue to update the video, and once we post this, hopefully this will be helpful to other people who are trying to do a similar type of conversion from the push-pull petcock to the lever type on these British bikes. Anyway, I'll bring you guys back after we have time for this to cure. Hey guys, here we are. We're back on the BSA C15. We installed our petcock. We put the gas oil thread sealant on here, tightened everything down. We've let it cure overnight for 24 hours. I mean, it's actually been 24 hours since we did that operation. So now we're going to close it. So we're going to close that petcock right there. I'm going to put some gasoline in here, and we're going to see if we have leaks. So let's see what happens. Right here. I'll tell you, as of right now, we put the gasoline in, and the thread sealant seems to be doing the job so far, knock on wood. Petcock valve clearly works because there's none coming out the bottom, and the petcock is completely immersed. So with that said, I think so far so good. We're going to let it sit for quite a while, and then we'll come back and check it and see where we end up. Okay, just real quick here, wanted to go over again what we did. We've attached this petcock with an adapter. This is a more modern Norton BSA Triumph type petcock. We did it with the adapter originally. It leaked. We used the Gasoila thread sealant, reattached it, had no leaks with it in the off position, and the fuel line not attached. So we could see that it wasn't leaking either around the petcock or down here through the petcock. Now we've reattached the fuel line to the bottom of the petcock, and it's not leaking around the base of the fuel line where that crush fitting or flare fitting fits up to it. So that appears to be good. No leaks up here, so it appears that we've got this petcock issue fixed. And again, this one works with this lever. Good, simple, easy operation, reliable. I think it's going to be superior to the push-pull, even though it may not be perfectly historically accurate. It is, you know, something that someone might have done to one of these old British bikes back in the day when they first came out. They said, you know, oh, there's a better petcock down the road than the push-pull type, which tend to leak more. So they might have switched to something like this. So anyway, I think it's still a really good solution. It makes the bike more rideable. I really didn't want gasoline dripping down onto hot exhaust. So for me, it was important to get a modification here that was going to be reliable over time. And from everything I've read with the push-pulls, you're constantly having to change the corks. I tried the O-ring thing. It works for a little while, but then they start to go bad. So this is just a superior solution for me. So anyway, this is what we did. It seems to be working very well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, comment, whatever. All that stuff is not super important to me because, again, like I said, I'm not a professional YouTuber. But anyway, I hope the video was helpful, and I hope it could help someone else, particularly with that gas oil thread locker, not thread locker, but thread sealant. I'm really been impressed with what that product has done for this this particular application. So if you need something that'll help seal your threads against gasoline, it seems to be a good solution. And if it turns out that it doesn't hold up over time, then I'll maybe do a video reporting that. But so far so good. It says it should hold up against the gasoline, even ethanol gasoline, which I don't use in these bikes. So like I say, I really think it's going to be a good solution. Anyway, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.